All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Charles Johnson, your life and wellness coach at Beyond Wellness Podcast. We are talking mental health, wellness, life lessons, and the psychology behind we live, love, and grow. And today we're stepping into a new segment. We're calling this the Love Lab. All right. Sometimes you find connection, sometimes you find chemistry, and sometimes you discover accidentally maybe you've been dating a walking red flag factory. Today, we're talking about red flags, green flags in relationships, and what they actually mean and why people disagree about them. So, I'm going to introduce my co hosts tonight. They've joined me today in the Love Lab. I have two brilliant women bringing the female perspective. And we've got the first one, Patty. All right. So, Patty, tell us
Yes.
who you are and one red flag you refuse to ignore.
I'm Patricia. I like to consider myself a women's relationship advocate, and I work in the medical field. One red flag is a lack of accountability.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Patricia. And Rebecca. Rebecca is in the building, y'all. Rebecca, tell us who you are and one red flag you refuse to ignore.
Hey there. So I'm Rebecca, and I am a domestic violence survivor. I am also an advocate, and I am the founder of Voice After Violence nonprofit. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it. One red flag that I won't ignore now is love bombing.
Got you. Got you. All right. There you go. A little love bombing. All right. So now, when you think of healthy relationships, what are the first things that come to mind for both of you guys? Guys, just go ahead and jump in there and we'll get this party rolling.
I'll start. One of the first things I think of is respect and respecting my boundaries, because having come out of a violent situation, those two things are very important to me. When I put up a boundary, I expect it to be respected. We can talk through it or whatever, but that is my expectation.
Got you. Got you.
Communication is a big one, and emotional safety. So I have to be able to speak to you or come to you with something without fearing that something bad's going to happen to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, communication, emotional safety, respect, even accountability, trust, independence, and maybe support of growth, right? Because we
Mhm.
all are, we kind of start off these relationships where we're in one position and we want to do better and we want someone that's going to support our growth, right? Right.
Mhm.
Most people think the most important thing in a relationship is love, but love without respect, communication, accountability can turn toxic really fast. What are your thoughts and maybe experiences or things you've heard about that?
Okay, so I would agree with that 100,000%, which goes to my red flag of love bombing, right? A love bombing is a way to make someone feel as if they are the only person on the planet, and they just shower you with, gifts and compliments, and just it's like compliments on steroids, right?
Yeah,
But then behind that is there's no real respect. There's actually no love either. And it can turn toxic extremely fast. And I've learned to be able to pick those things up now. And I wish I obviously had learned, had known what they were back then. So
yeah,
now I'm even more keen to seeing those behaviors.
yeah. Because I think it also probably falls into manipulation, right? So
Mhm.
it may not even be love; it's more manipulation to get that person trying to get something out of the relationship or the situation at any particular time, right? For their
Yeah.
own advantage.
Yeah, because typically the kind of people that you're dealing with in a toxic situation, they don't love you. They don't know how to show emotions in a healthy way. That's a broad statement, but there are facts that back that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How about you, Patricia?
Yeah, but I'm going to go back to the lack of accountability thing.
Yeah.
Again, because I think that plays a big part as well. So never apologizing or taking responsibility for your part in what has just transpired. Okay. I'm big on, hey, I made my mistake. I did it. I'm sorry. From the bottom of my heart, I really do apologize. But the other person not taking accountability and just, okay, you know, I've said my part. They've
All right.
walked away like nothing's happened. And there's no,
Mhm.
there's two sides to it, two
Right.
sides. There's a and a B side. And, if we can't come together, to to fix this, then what's the point? Just one person doing more, one person giving more, one person. It's always that it just feels like it's that one person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just a little bit
One-sided
more.
efforts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one-sided efforts. Yep. So yeah, go ahead.
Now, say, all right, let's talk about warning signs, right? What are
Ooh.
some of the red flags people see early but ignore anyway?
Jealousy.
Ooh, extreme
Here's
jealousy.
one that a lot of people miss. When you're out to dinner and you see a couple, let's say, right? And the waiter comes back and says, so they order their food, and the waiter comes back and says, "Hey, we're out of steak."
Yeah.
Okay. If you see a reaction that is like way over the top, right, from the individual.
Right,
And
right.
that's another thing that I didn't
Mhm.
realize. I thought, oh, well, maybe he's having a bad day or whatever. But if someone is reacting in a way that's like where they get to a point where they're swearing and
Oh,
this is unacceptable, that is just way over the top, and it's a huge red flag, which I obviously missed.
gotcha.
Yeah, and just losing your temper, like you said, very easily. You're like, whoa, if you can lose your temper over something like this,
Yeah.
Mm,
what's going to happen later on if we, really get into a conversation about something that, you really, so
right.
that's definitely a red flag. Your ears perk up.
Yeah, yeah, yep. So the extreme jealousy, the love bombing early in relationships,
Control,
control. Yeah,
Manipulation and guilt tripping.
yeah,
feeling like you have to walk on eggshells, like you feel like
Mhm.
you're carrying all the burden of the relationship. Sometimes that can happen quickly, and before you realize it, once you do realize it, you're like, well, minute to win
Yeah.
it now.
or even constant criticism.
Mhm.
Maybe you said earlier, disrespecting boundaries, right? I think another one could be blaming everyone else for their problems.
Yes, yes.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Victimization, yes,
yeah, yeah.
totally.
Um, and emotional manipulation. I think one of you guys mentioned that too earlier. So I think
Yeah.
that's a big one too.
Lack of respect during a conversation or a gentle argument per se,
Yeah,
throwing out insults and,
yeah,
hitting them, as they say, below the belt.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Start making personal attacks on people.
And then you get the hot and cold like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yep.
Minute, everything's rainbows and unicorns, and the other minute, you've got a totally different person you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think another one for me is if someone constantly talks bad about their ex.
Oh, yes, that's a big one, Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're crazy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they
Or
don't know what
or
they're talking
every or every or every ex is crazy.
everyone.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so you're like, huh, what's the common denominator here? Right? Like
Until they start
well,
messaging you and saying, "Hey,"
yeah.
you know, you get that.
all right.
And I know we kind of hit on this a little bit, but
Yeah.
what red flags do people ignore the most and regret later?
For me, I would say that what other people were telling me, I just didn't listen. I mean, you could give me a bouquet of red flags, and I would just say, "Oh, they still smell good," you know?
Mm,
I
bunch
just
of
And that's because I was in a place that I wasn't healthy enough to see that those were red flags.
yeah, 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 yeah. I like the roses part, right? The
Mhm.
roses are growing in a pile of poop,
Yep.
but you still smell them, boy.
Still smell 'em.
They smell like a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Thorns and all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like the gaslighting, for me, trying to
Mhm.
make you seem like you're crazy, but you're not, you're like, wait, what do you mean? So it's now all turned around on you versus that person so
Sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So I know we hear a lot about red flags, but let's talk about the green flags that actually matter. So let's kind of go through a list of those.
okay.
Okay.
What are some things you guys could think of?
Respect.
Accountability.
Say again?
You go first.
I said accountability. Someone who, if they mess up, they come to you and they say, "Look, I screwed up," or, "I'm sorry," and they're genuine about it, and then they change the behavior, right? Because you
Right.
can't hold yourself accountable, say you're sorry, and not change the behavior that follows, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a huge one for me.
Mine is respect. So they value your opinions and your boundaries. So I mean that's a big one. So
Yeah.
Same.
I think the couple of them that pop up in my mind are they communicate during conflict. I know this conversation is difficult, right? But
Mhm.
you're letting me know your perspective, my perspective, and let's come to some kind of common ground, right?
Right.
Without making personal attacks. So if someone can communicate during conflict, I think that's important.
Yes.
Mhm. And not having the feeling of along those lines, Charles, is not having the feeling that it's all or nothing, right? That this one argument can make or break the relationship.
Right.
Right.
Was a big thing for and has been continued to be a big thing if I have a disagreement that, okay, this is not all or nothing. And that's something I've had to learn to retrain my brain that you're having a disagreement. This is not the end, right? But it feels like it
Yeah.
to me. It still feels that way.
Yeah. So you need that
Yeah.
reassurance too, I think. Yeah, during that conversation. So yeah, I like those. I think another two that stick out in my mind are they celebrate your success and they don't compete with you, right? Everyone's not trying to one up each other through the whole entire relationship. Because
Supporting
sometimes
your goals. Yep.
yeah, because I look at it as when I come home, I don't want to compete with you. I want to celebrate your success. You celebrate my success because peace is here. Peace is in our home. And because the world is already chaotic,
Yeah.
work is chaotic.
Right. And
Everything else,
if I win, you win. You know,
that's right. Yes, yes.
it's a win-win situation. We're a team.
And I'm not going to let you fail. In the
Exactly.
same scene, I'm not going to let you fail.
I've got your back.
But
Exactly.
it has to be the work put in on both sides. And
Correct.
I'm not a huge believer also of, 50-50. It's 100-100 so that when that person, if I'm at feeling 50% and he's at 100 or your partner, whatever it is at 100, right? They're kind of averaging it out for, like
Yeah.
you've got each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. One of the things that also sticks out in my mind is someone who could say I was wrong without writing a 5-page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thesis
yeah,
on it. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, we ain't got to do all that. I'm just saying,
Right.
hey, you're wrong. Okay, let's move on. Right now that we've addressed and are accountable for our behavior, our actions, and say, hey, now let's make these improvements. I don't expect perfection, just progress. Progress
Right.
moving in the right direction so we both succeed, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right, here we go, ladies. Now we're here. We're at the games segment. We're going to call this the Love Lab Experiment Game. We're going
Okay.
to talk about red flags or it's just different. So we'll go through the game rules. I'm going to read a situation and we're going to figure out is this a red flag or is this just difficult or not a red flag?
Okay.
And then we're going to kind of explain why. All right. Ooh, I'm looking at the questions here, and some are a little spicy. But
Okay.
I think we'll be fine.
I like spicy.
All right. So we got to figure out number one, if this is a red flag or not. They still talk to their ex occasionally. Red flag or not?
Not.
Well,
Mm,
hold on.
I don't know. But I mean, look, okay. If you set
go ahead, Patty.
boundaries,
Go ahead, Patty. Okay.
Now, if you share children,
That's
Yeah.
what I
you
was gonna
have to speak to that person. There are circumstances,
Yeah.
and
Right.
that comes into play. That comes into play, and that sometimes you have to suck up your pride and be mature about it. Okay,
Yes.
we share children. We have to discuss things as adults, and that's where that comes in. And yes, at that point, I do believe that. But other than that, no.
So you're saying not at all?
I'm
Like you got a Facebook ex from high school. Hey, Patty, how you doing? How's things been going? Oh, great. I see you.
blocked. Blocked.
That's it. Just block them.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. Rebecca,
So
what you got
I
for
was
me?
gonna say if she didn't say, she said, if you share children, you have to have those conversations, but you do have to have boundaries set in place
Yes.
because there's still a history there with that other individual. Now, if I still talk to my ex from high school, he's married, I'm
Right.
married, we talk on Facebook
Right.
occasionally,
Right.
but it's not like I don't have any desire, he doesn't have any desire, but I would probably normally say, in my experiences,
Mm.
it's a hard no.
Because how would that make his significant other feel? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you have to think about her. Most women don't care. They're like, I don't care. He's married.
Yeah.
But you being the mature adult and the responsible person that you are, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna say, that's a pass for me.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, how about they need help changing their tire? You know what I
I'll
mean?
call triple. I can call triple A.
Call AAA.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Don't
Fair.
call my husband.
All right. Let's go to number two. Let's go to number
Okay.
two. The person you're with does not post you on social media. Red flag or is it more privacy?
Okay, I'm gonna say for me, red flag because too many times I've heard, I'm just a private person. No, you're not. All you're doing is hiding behind your privacy, but you're all over social media with yourself.
Yeah,
So that's some BS.
got you.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. We got Rebecca's perspective. Patty, you're up.
Yeah, I would say definitely a red flag. If you're in a relationship with someone, you're happy to have them, on your arm, walk with them in the stores, go wherever, doctor's appointments, whatever, you'd be proud, to have them on there. Now, if that other person has an issue, and I don't know why they would, being on social media, then, they don't want to be put out there like that for privacy reasons, then that's fine. But if you're in a relationship, like she said, you're posting yourself on there, working out and picking your nose, whatever you're doing. Where's your other, your significant other, So
For
Yeah.
sure.
it is what it is. I mean, unless you work for the Central Intelligence Agency or someplace like that where you can't post your stuff on there, then
Yeah.
Which
you
you
don't have
can't.
a pass.
You can't
Yeah.
even hide behind that. You can still have social media if you
Exactly, but I mean
let me kill
so
that rumor too.
yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, that's a big red flag too, yeah.
Because you best believe I'm posting up,
Ben?
right?
Yep,
I'm
Yeah.
posting.
the
And
people
then
that
the weird thing is if people come up to you and say, "Oh, I saw, whoever your significant other is. So did you enjoy going to wherever?" And I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Boy. Man.
See, that's a rabbit hole you can go down.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you could. You could. Absolutely.
mm, yep,
Yeah. So this is what I was thinking, and don't beat me up here. If somebody has more of a business and they post mainly just their business stuff and they're not really posting a lot of their family, their friends, or their significant other, is that a issue? Or would you say, well, if
no.
they do it occasionally, it's cool that, the significant other, the family, but if they're pumping out a business and that's where they want that social media platform to be their main focus,
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that's fine. But I would also say that you should have a business page and a personal page. I mean,
Okay.
that's what I would.
yeah, if you're gonna be on
Well,
yeah, and I see where you're coming with that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Charles, you wanna explain that a little bit to us?
Look,
Because
I'll explain it like this, because I know I have more followers on my
yes,
personal page.
Right.
So, which then I try to navigate everybody to my business page.
I
So
right,
got
right.
you'll see a lot of that. But I'll put my grandkids on there. I'll
Yeah,
put my kids, my wife, and things like that. Occasionally, when we
you.
go out and do something, I know I don't do it a lot. It's
right,
not my main thing.
Because
So
you're
right.
trying to protect the integrity of your business, and
Yes,
I can
and your
understand.
family too, because there's a lot of creepy people out there that looking for pictures and
Right.
all kinds of stuff, and you try to limit what you put on there, so
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand, yeah.
So setting limits is cool. It's when you don't put anybody else on there except yourself. That's the red flag probably there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
if you're treating your partner like a big secret, what else are you hiding?
Yeah.
Mm. Whoa. Okay.
But you don't have a problem with me posting on my social media with the two of us, but you're not going to post the same or something similar on
On
yours.
your right.
That makes me think, what's going on here?
I'm gonna move on to three.
Okay. All right, let's go.
He's good.
All right. They prefer staying home instead of going out. Red flag or just personality.
Sometimes it can be personality because I mean,
Or situation.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's just different.
Yeah, I think everybody's a little bit different. This one here, for me, this question, I probably lean more towards personality than red flag.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons is I don't really go anywhere. But I enjoy my wife's company. We are at home, Netflix or door dashing, and we just kind of hang out. And I think it also has a lot to do with my age. Because
Mhm.
I'm over 50, man. I'm not going out. I go to bed at
Yeah.
8. I go to bed at 8. No going out. Matter of fact, when we go to the movies, we go in the afternoon. We don't even
Same.
go in the evening.
You go to the
So,
matinee, right? 12 o'clock,
absolutely, yeah.
11 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta save some money, you know what I'm
I
saying?
gotta do that. I do the same thing. Because I'll fall asleep in a night movie. I'll be zonked out.
Yeah.
And then mad because I
So
spent all the damn money.
So no red flag for that one, yes.
Okay. All right. Here we go. We'll go number 4. They want access to your phone location. Transparency, or sorry, transparency or control.
Well, see, I don't think that's a cut and dry answer. I think that goes in the same kind of bucket as do you talk to your ex? If you share children,
Mm.
if my husband has my daughter, I want to know. And that might come across as being controlling. I never really thought of it like that.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Hey, there's no wrong answers here, guys.
yeah, I can see both sides of that.
Yeah. And I think that's the important part, right? When you
Yeah.
can see both sides of certain situations, right? Because like you said, some of these questions aren't really cut and dry, right?
Yeah.
There's no black and white. There's some gray areas right there in the middle.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're sharing your location with your partner and they're being respectful about it and, all the other good qualities that we said, and
Right.
they're not like popping up at a girls' night and saying, "Oh, I saw you were here, so
Yeah. Oh,
I wanted to."
Right. Yeah.
That's weird to me. Like,
or they're yelling at why are you showing your location? Where are you
yeah,
at? What are you doing? Right?
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's I don't think it's one way or the other, in my
Right.
Yeah,
opinion.
I don't mind sharing my location. I don't mind. I mean, my kids have my location just in case. I want their location. As far as his location, I mean, I don't really need it because I'm busy all the time. I mean, I don't even think about it, you know?
Yeah.
But you want my location? Fine, you can have it. I mean, but like you
Mhm.
said,
Yeah.
just don't call me and be like, oh, I thought you were going to a Starbucks and you're over here at the gym.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Excuse me? Where's the bug in the car? Where's the, you know?
And my husband and I share our location.
Understand sometimes, for safety reasons, not making excuses, but with all the stuff going on nowadays, just like, okay, well, if something happens or you feel like you're being followed or whatever, share your location, tell your whatever. But I mean, if they're questioning your every move, okay, so you said you were going here, I see you're here. Then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you got issues.
Yeah. Yeah. They said it should only take you 15 minutes to get to work and it took you 20. Where'd you go? Why'd you stop?
Let me play devil's advocate again.
Sure.
Okay.
Infidelity is trauma. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you have been through that and let's say you're sharing location, some of those same questions can come up on the flip too. You
Sure.
said you were going to the grocery store. It took you, it takes you 10 minutes to go to the store, in, out, home.
Right.
It took you an hour.
Yeah,
Then it
yeah.
can also be a flag in that kind of sense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think if there are those red flags that are coming with the person's personality, behavior, things like that, I think you're spot on. I
Mhm.
think if someone has always shown you respect and they've
Yes.
always been nice, or they've just improved over
Mhm.
time, like, oh, this person is more trustworthy. I can depend on them. I feel safe. I feel secure. But in the back of my mind, these things are popping up, even though they may not even be happening. And then sometimes you have to reel it back and say, okay, maybe it isn't them, it's me. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes you have to do that too. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah. So
Take
all right.
ownership. Yep. Got it.
What was that? Was that number 5? Is that what we did? No, no. I think we're at number 5, right? Okay, so number 5, they need frequent alone time. Is that healthy independence or emotional distance?
Well, the word frequent is, I mean, if it's sometimes, yeah, you need some alone time because sometimes I need time, for me time. And the only time I get it is when either I'm in my car, in the shower, or at the gym. But
Yeah,
I just need like 2 minutes just to, and it's just to get away from the world, the noise, just get
Yeah.
away.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not, and if you have that communication with your significant other, whoever, hey, I'm going through this. I just need a few minutes to decompress, to do whatever I got to do. This is me, not you,
Mhm.
and they can understand that, then
Yeah,
that's fine. If it's every day, all day, then there's some things you probably need to discuss.
Yeah.
sure, sure.
I think this is a blend of personality. And again, all of these can be seen lots of different ways. I am an introvert, so I like alone time and I do have it quite a bit. But I have it during the day when nobody's here, right?
Yeah.
I work from home, so I have it. I can also see if you're asking for frequent alone time, I'm wondering what the hell are you doing?
You can't be having fun without me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I know that I'm that way.
Mhm.
My husband is not that way. He
Right.
gets his energy from people.
People person.
So on the weekends, I'm not getting alone time and I want to go, we go do things. But if that were to change, I'd be like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
Right.
I think for myself, do have frequent alone time, but they're in these like hour time slots that I kind of designate for that, right? So, for example, I have a garage gym and I also work out in my basement, right? So I'll take an hour where I say, okay, I'm gonna do this in my gym, get my workout because I rarely go to the gym anymore. I like to do my workouts alone in my gym,
Mhm.
put my music on, things like that. I think the other thing that I enjoy doing where I get some alone time is through prayer and meditation. So I will, for example, if I'm down in this room, I will turn the lights off, put a little bit of music on. If not music, sometimes it's like nature sounds. And I pray, talk about what I'm grateful for, thankful
Mhm.
for, pray for people, things like that. I stretch and then I meditate, right? So I always tell people when I pray, I'm talking to God.
Mhm.
When I meditate, I'm listening. So
Mm.
sometimes I gotta listen. And
Yeah.
that helps me to decompress because I'm always kind of hyped up. I'm at a 10. And so my wife tells me you gotta chill out, big boy.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Miyagi.
Wax on, wax
Wax
off.
off. Yep.
So that's where I probably get I would say frequent alone time. And it probably happens at least a good 4 or 5 days a week. So, all
Okay.
right. Number 6, they ask for reassurance in the relationship. So is that a red flag or just emotional vulnerability?
I'm gonna say emotional vulnerability because that
I
takes a
agree.
lot to ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And if
especially
they
when
have to
you
keep
get with that
asking
person
you,
that
yeah.
And they're not getting it.
yeah.
Yeah, and they have to keep asking
And
you,
some well, sure, absolutely. I think reassurance is always good. But I think there was this term I heard not too long ago. It was called toxic empathy. It's
Oh.
where you kind of constantly got to reassure and tell everybody how wonderful and great and they don't do anything wrong and hey, I don't know. You're constantly have to pump sunshine up their behinds, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
sometimes I think that can become toxic in itself because you're giving someone a false look of empathy, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, are you okay? Where sometimes I think you got to just say, hey, I love you. I love being with you. We're having a great time. And you then have to internalize that as something good and positive. This person is telling me, they're showing me, they're doing all these things. Why do I keep badgering them about reassuring the relationship? You're not going to break up with me, right? You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. Even when I think we even talked earlier about arguments, right? This is the last, okay, this argument means our relationship is over. No, 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 no. It doesn't mean it's over. It just means we have a disagreement and let's have a resolution. Let's work on a resolution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a previous relationship where we would do a monthly check-in, right?
Oh,
We would
very
just check
nice.
in with it. Like we put it on it was a calendar thing. And we would just have a check-in and say, you know, what's going, are we okay? Are there any issues? And that was that was really helpful
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
do that. And it seemed kind of silly to have to schedule something like that, but you have to schedule lots of things in relationships. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
that's
I like that. I like that. So I think you're correct on that. I think
Yeah.
you definitely you wanna reassure, you wanna check in and give
Mhm.
yourself that time in order to give yourself time to do that. And because that's not just helping you, that's helping them. And
Yeah,
overall it's helping the relationship. So
exactly.
yeah. All right, guys, this is where relationships get interesting, right? Because one person's red flag might be another person's normal behavior, right? So
Mhm.
that's why even with these questions, there is that gray area, right? It isn't black and white. There's a lot of gray, and the circumstance or situation kind of dictates which direction we go here, right? So.
Mhm.
All right. So I know we mentioned this a little earlier, but a lot of the things that we call red flags are sometimes actually unresolved emotional wounds that are reacting, right?
Mhm.
So some examples are childhood neglect, and then which transfers to fear of abandonment, right? Or past betrayal, which then starts moving over to hypervigilance, right? So sometimes red flags isn't the other person, it's the unhealed experience someone is bringing into the relationship. What do you guys think of that?
I agree.
Ask me how I know.
Say again? Say again?
I said, "Ask me how I know."
How do you know?
Patricia says she agrees. I also agree because once I left that toxic relationship. I had to go through lots of therapy to learn that I had taken on some of those behaviors myself.
Right.
And I had to retrain my brain to not speak to individuals the way that I was spoken to, which
Mm,
not making an excuse, but it happens often. And then you take on some of those behaviors and you have to unlearn that behavior.
right.
So it is a
Yeah,
hard
because we
pill to
yeah,
swallow.
yeah, because I think overall what we don't wanna do is then bring this into a new relationship or the current relationship
Right.
Yes.
because that person is gonna get blindsided to like, I don't even know what's happening, right?
Mhm.
Especially if you don't talk about it. And
Right.
again, that's why I think communication is probably one of the biggest things that we can do in order to improve relationships.
Yes.
Patty, did you have a point? Did you wanna jump in here?
No, I said I agree. I agree completely. She said it. I mean I agree. Some of the times it's not the other person, it's you. And until you get yourself right, and you're comfortable in your skin and get your mind right, there's going to be that little bit of something going on that's going to cause an issue in your next relationship. No.
Mm.
So you just, I mean, it's tough, and and so it's a process. It's a long process. I mean, it's something you can't fix overnight. You can't just be like, okay, I went through this last year. I'm good this year.
Mm,
It is what it is, and if you have that partner that's, supportive, and that understands, and that's willing to go in the trenches with you and come out of the trenches with you, then so be it. But a lot of people can't. They break in there. They're like, okay, well, I thought I could,
right.
but I can't. It's just way too much
Yeah,
for me. And there's some people that are upfront. They're like, look, if you're bringing this and this into this relationship, I can't do it. Well, thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
yeah,
So move on.
I'm gonna have
But
more respect for that person that says, "I can't do this,"
then
versus
says
someone
they
else who
can,
says
and they get into it, and
yeah,
they're
and
like,
then
I gotta leave. Yep.
yeah.
yeah. I didn't sign up for this. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
That's
Man,
a good one. That's a good one, I like.
I feel like we hit on a lot of stuff here
Yeah, we did.
already, and I feel like there's more to come, right? Because this ain't our last one.
Oh
This ain't our
yeah.
last one. We gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going, audience,
Let's do
and
it.
we're gonna have more of these conversations. Before we close the love lab, what's one green flag people should look for in a healthy relationship? Like, what is the big one?
For me, I'm gonna say holding yourself accountable for things that you have done or being open to hearing feedback, right? If you've done something that maybe you shouldn't have and holding yourself accountable in that vein. That's huge for me.
Gotcha.
My whole thing is I'm gonna go back to the respect thing. That's a big green flag. Somebody that's willing to grow with you, that respects you, that has your back 110%, and that will technically lay down their life for you, not literal, but you know what I mean? They're there with you for the
Yeah,
long haul, and they know somebody that's going to pray with you, someone that's going to, be real with you, someone that's going to be honest with you. And I think that speaks, a lot for someone's character. Like you said,
Mhm.
Chaz in the beginning,
yeah,
character is a big thing. And I
yeah.
believe that you can tell a lot by a person's character.
Yes.
All right. Nice job. But here we go, right? Red flags aren't always obvious. Green flags aren't always exciting, but healthy relationships are built on respect, communication, accountability, emotional maturity, not just chemistry. Because chemistry can start a relationship, but character is what sustains it. Guys, this has been the Love Lab on Beyond Wellness Podcast. And remember, community mental health starts with us. And right now, what we're doing, we're all just handing out some life lessons. Hold on. Let's get a quick cheer. Life lessons, baby. That's what we're doing here. We're giving it to y'all. We're coming back. Don't think this is the end. We got more Love Lab in the books. Get ready.